And we're live. Welcome to our Business South Bank webinar today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Vicky Smith. Thank you if you have attended one of our webinars before. We hope that you've found them beneficial, and feel free to let us know if there's any topics that you think would be valuable to our members at this time, and we'll see what we can do. Many thanks also to Serena, who's working backstage with our webinars and helping things to flow really smoothly. So work is what you do and not a place you go. It feels like the mantra for 2020. And while many of us have started to master the challenges of working from home, there's always more that we can learn and ways that we can do things better. Our speaker today is Tristram Morgan, and he's the Managing Director of 365 Solutions Group. As the name suggests, 365 Solutions Group are about finding solutions to our efficiency problems. They specialise in helping you to manage the tech side of your business to work remotely, as well as navigating things like cybersecurity and data management and streamlining office processes. Tristram is going to talk to us about true mobility, and I'm looking forward to what he has to share with us today. If there is any questions, feel free to post them in the Q&A panel. But for now, I'll hand over to Tristram to get started on our presentation. Thanks, Tristram.
Okay, thank you very much for that introduction, Vicky, and thank you everyone who's turned up today for making time to talk about this really quite important topic. It's certainly the flavour of the moment. So I've done some timings on this presentation. There's so much I could talk about. I could be here for 4 hours. I might be alone, but I'd still be talking passionately about it. So I've had to try and condense everything I'd like to talk about into half an hour, which is no mean feat. So without further ado, I shall press on. Okay, so is a thing you do, not a place you go. It's not just a clever slogan. It really is the mantra for Microsoft in everything that they do. They've been using remote working for a long time now. They don't have desks for anyone other than the senior managers in the office. It's all very much a sort of casual workstation basis, and they believe that truly. So their mantra has been work is a thing you do, not a place you go. Cloud first, mobile first in everything they do. And that's why it's such a powerful tool for what we're trying to achieve in times like this. Okay, so what we're going to cover today, the tech challenges with working outside of the office. Again, that could be a half-hour presentation in itself, so we're just going to skip across the surface of that. We'll also be talking about the Microsoft 365 stack. So Office 365 has been largely rebranded Microsoft 365 as of last month. And I'm sure you'll find there are a whole bunch of surprises in there, things that you didn't know that you had or could do. That is almost always the case, even with our business. So, you know, we're a specialist in what we do. We only focus on the Microsoft stack because it's huge and it's powerful and there's so much to it. Protecting your data while making it accessible from anywhere is a bit of a juggling act. Cybersecurity has always been really important, but never more so than now. So we'll cover that off. We're also going to talk about integrating your systems and automating your processes to create efficiencies and more predictability in the results. Using your office phone number on your mobile or laptop from anywhere so that you don't have to be in the office to use the office phone number and to have your calls billed back to that account. That's all very straightforward to do. And right at the end, I'm going to bore you all with a little personal pitch, which is about being a business for good and how that is good for business. So I'll touch on that at the end as well. So typically working from home looks a little bit like this. You've often got a VPN involved, and the VPNs have traditionally been built for a small percentage of people who are going to be out of the office at any one time. They're usually also not really designed for giving you access to all systems at the same time from outside the office. Sometimes you need authentication tokens and similar ways of getting access in an authenticated way, which is all well and good. It's protected, but it's also another point of vulnerability. It's another thing you've got to carry around, bit of a nuisance. Then we've got some but not all data and systems exposed for external access. We've got a situation at the moment where a large customer is paying some large invoices and we're waiting a long time for them because nobody can access their finance system from outside the office. So they've had to get someone in a hazmat suit to go into the office and basically access the systems, make the payments and get out again. So that's not an unusual situation, but it's obviously not very sustainable when we're facing a new remote working paradigm. Using your mobile phone or your home phone is fine if you're making occasional calls, but you don't really want to be starting to make a lot of calls from either device, particularly if, for example, you're an accounts receivable person chasing people for money all day, every day. You don't want to be racking up a phone bill. You certainly don't want people to be getting your personal number. So yeah, that's a scenario that's, you know, usually works, but when it's occasional, that's fine. And then good enough is generally good enough if you're just working sporadically from outside of the office, but no more. We now need to make people as effective from wherever they are as if they were sat in the office location. So remote working is the new normal and needs to be fully functional, and you need to take that Microsoft cloud first, mobile first approach. Get rid of servers, get rid of firewalls, get rid of VPNs, put everything in the cloud. There are plenty of ways of authenticating securely, multi-factor authentication, identity management, device management. There are so many tools that you can use to make sure that only the right people get access to your stuff. But when it's in the cloud, you can get to it from anywhere, which is really the whole point of this presentation. So pardon me for speaking at a million miles an hour, but there's so much to cover. So Office 365 for most people is Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook. Maybe they're using OneDrive, and if they're really adventurous, they might be using SharePoint. And of course, Teams has now got massive uptake. I think they've more than quadrupled the users in March alone. So there's a huge uptake of Teams. But in fact, there's a whole sway of tools within Office 365 that most people don't know even exist. And that's because they're available through the portal, not as desktop apps in many cases. So that's certainly true of tools like Power Automate and Stream and some other tools. But we're going to not cover all of those by any stretch today, but we're going to just demonstrate here. There's so much stuff, extra value that you're already sitting on that you're not using in most cases. So just to give you a quick overview of the competitive landscape, Office 365 really is the only platform that does everything that it does. So for example, on the left, you'll see we've got Google Docs. Well, that does much the same as Office Desktop, but that's all it does. Whereas within the Office 365 or Microsoft 365 license, you also get access to Power BI, which is a replacement for ClickView or Tableau or other reporting tools, Planner in place of Trello, Stream in place of Vimeo. You get the idea. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can see that there are lots of tools that people are using that are great at what they do, and the Microsoft tools do much the same thing. They just don't even know they've got them, so they're subscribing to third-party tools that they don't need to be paying for. And this is unlikely that someone is going to have all of the tools on the left, but if they did, it'd be about $180 per user per month in subscriptions. So even allowing for the average business of maybe having 3 or 4, they might have Trello or Monday.com. They might be using Evernote instead of OneNote. They might be using Dropbox instead of OneDrive. Those fees add up pretty quickly, 30, 40, $50 per user per month. And as you can see, Office 365 Business Premium, $17.20 per user per month. And even better news, if you are an NFP, we do a lot of work in that space, $4.10 per user per month. So they're really making it very easy, or not-for-profits in particular, to get on board with this, but at $20 per user per month, it's really a no-brainer, and it gives you all this extra value. So the 3 pillars of what we do within Office 365 are effectively security. Making sure that your data is secure is the primary thing to worry about, because if you're not taking care of that, everything else is a bit of a moot point, simply because if you do get hit with a cybersecurity attack, statistics suggest that you may not be around in 6 months. It's not just the cost of restoration, it's the damage to reputation when you need to tell people that you've been hacked, or they get spurious emails that are coming from your tenant. There's so much reputational damage done, so you have to get security right, and Office 365 has a massive sway of tools to make sure we can do that. The second pillar of what we do is automating, getting rid of paperwork, turning it into digital forms, connecting systems together, and I'll be talking about that in a bit of detail later. And Power BI for reporting to get real insights into your business. How are you tracking from a cash flow perspective, from a pipeline perspective. How are you delivering against KPIs? How happy are your customers? All of the important things that you need to know in order to make sensible business decisions. Power BI can help you to pull that all together. Okay, so cybersecurity, when it's a huge topic, I could be talking about this for 2 hours straight and not even touch the surface, but just the things that you really need to understand now that we're remotely working as a bit of a standard, and there's a lot of talk about people won't ever go back to all being in the office again. I think that's probably quite on the money. You're needing to expose all of your systems and all of your data to the outside world so that people can work effectively. Now that also means, as a downside, you've got to balance security and ease of access. They're opposites. The easier things are to access, the less secure they are, and that appetite for risk is going to be different for a business that has personally identifiable information to one that doesn't, but you still need to make sure that you are you're comfortable with the level of risk that you have. And the message here is you're never going to be impenetrable. It's a bit like home security. You have bars on the windows and an alarm system, and you're much safer than the guy next door who's left the windows open. They're more likely to get burgled. But let's say you've got a discerning burglar who's walking down the street and sees your place and thinks, you must have stuff that's worth stealing because you're protecting it. Let's break in through the roof and pull off some roof tiles and drop in through the ceiling. We'll get into your house. You can never stop people if they're determined to get in, but if they get in and everything's in a safe indoors and all the internal doors are locked, it's just too hard for the potential reward. They move on and attack someone else. In the event that you do get hacked, there are some very powerful backup and recovery tools within Office 365. So it's not like it can never happen and you can make sure of that, but you can certainly mitigate the risk by being able to easily recover. And if there's one message that I really want you to get today, more than anything else, is multi-factor authentication. You have to protect your data. Multi-factor authentication is the simplest way of removing 80% of threats which come from password compromise. So if you have multi-factor authentication and they capture your email and password, they still can't get in because they need that code that's going to your phone. It's, again, not 100% bulletproof, but they've got to go to extreme lengths in order to get around that. And also there's a tool called Microsoft Secure Score within Office 365. It allows you to assess your security risk. A lot of it is settings, but some of it is soft policies as well. Like, it's a great idea to have the right number of global admins. One is too few. If someone gets hit by a bus and they lose that access to the password, you've lost the keys to your own kingdom. And if everyone's a global admin, the risk is far too high. So by running the Secure Score, which we've turned into an audit service, we can then basically make recommendations about what you need to do to secure things from a policy perspective, but also from settings. So that's a really important step. Switch on multi-factor authentication. There is a document on our website that shows you how to do that. Okay, moving right along. So collaboration tools within Office 365. There are lots and lots of ways in which they help you. We'll just cover a few of them. So Teams, we're using Teams now. Teams is very cool for online meetings, obviously. So it allows you to do video, screen sharing, recording meetings. You can blur your backgrounds or put custom backgrounds in so that you can appear as if you're from somewhere else, or hide, your home environment. It's a direct competitor with Zoom in terms of online meetings. It also offers perpetual chat, which is a direct competitor with Slack. Neither of those tools do all of the things that Teams does. So much as they have some pros and cons, Teams is the one-stop shop for collaboration. You can also document share through it. That's either through links in chat, or you can upload documents to a team. You can run projects through Microsoft Planner, which comes with Teams, and you can use PSTN calling, which is the name of the feature that allows you to click to dial from your laptop or from your mobile using Teams and get to any phone number in the world. And in the tradition of small print, there is actually just one little requirement that you may need an additional license depending upon what licensing you have for Office or Microsoft 365, but it's worst case scenario $20 per user per month, which is less than the cost of having a phone extension on a phone system. Then you have SharePoint, which is an intranet. So it's a great place to put messaging that you want everyone to consume, but you don't want to clog up their email inbox. It's a full document management system. So, for example, in our world, we have documents that are of various kinds. There are proposals, work orders, invoices, project plans. We have different customers, some of whom are introduced to us by partners. and we might be doing a proposal on CRM, or it might be SharePoint, or it might be Power BI, or it might be a combination of those. So where do I store that document in a traditional file server? Do I put it into proposals? Do I put it into SharePoint documents? Do I put it into the customer folder? So what often happens is people put it everywhere. And then you've got version control nightmares where no one knows which is the latest version if something's been updated. Well, with SharePoint, you can tag documents with certain qualities, i.e. it's a document type of proposal. It includes the technologies of SharePoint, CRM, Power BI, and it's for this customer. And I can search for that document by any of those parameters, and I'll be able to find it no matter where it lives. And there will only be one version, and you can always revert back to previous versions if someone's accidentally overwritten something. So the document management capabilities really do enable better collaboration between staff members. There are basic workflows within SharePoint too. So as an example, you may have a new HR policy that you're updating, and you save it to SharePoint. Before that becomes available to everyone, you may want approvals to go through the HR manager, the CEO, whoever it is, and they have to approve it before it's published. That's an example of a simple workflow, but it's really powerful in doing a whole lot of other stuff. And then digital forms. You can also create those with Power Apps and some other tools, but it's an easy way of getting rid of paperwork. A simple example is a travel request. You can do that through a little button on SharePoint. It brings up a dialog box where you enter the details. When you save that, it automatically starts the workflow in the back end to seek approvals from other people, gets rid of the paperwork. It's a brilliant tool and everyone should be using it, but if it's not done properly, it can be a very difficult user experience. So it's really important to get that mapped out correctly. Okay, so then we also have OneNote. Now, OneNote is often overlooked as a collaboration tool. It is basically a digital scrapbook, but beyond that, you can upload drawings, videos, you can draw directly onto it, you can save photos into it, etc., and it's totally searchable. So we have a notebook, for example, with customer notes, client meeting notes. So it's a notebook is called that. We've got other ones for product information, etc. But for client meetings, I then create a section which is for the client and a page which is for that particular meeting or project. When I go and have a meeting, I write my notes into OneNote. When I leave the meeting, I can contact someone back at the office and say, can you turn those notes into a work order, please? I don't have to download anything. I don't have to search anything. It's just there. So that's a very cool tool as well for collaborating. And then within the standard platform of desktop applications, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc., there are some fantastic things you can do with real-time co-authoring, for example. So I can be working on a document late at night that needs to go out to a deadline, and I can, from Word, I can message Kim to say, can you please fix up the executive summary while I go and work on the pricing section, and I can see where she is and what she's doing. She can see where I am and what we're doing. All those conflicts around versions are handled in real time in the cloud. So it's a very, very powerful way of getting people across distances to be able to work together. Even if I can't invite her at the time, I can leave comments in the documents and swap notes so that we can communicate within the document itself. And then you've got mobile versions for the phone or tablet of all Office 365 apps, which means that you can, if you need to, read that spreadsheet while you're on the train on your mobile. It doesn't want to be too big a spreadsheet because that'll be a nightmare experience, but all these things are possible. You can read Word documents, PDFs that are sent to emails, etc. from your phone or tablet. And there are some very cool features in the desktop apps. So Word, for example, has a translate feature, which has, I think, 60 languages in there, that you can translate a word, a section, the whole document into another language instantly. There's text to speech, so if you've written something and you want to know how it sounds, you can get Word to read it out to you. We know that language can be a bit different in spoken or written form. There are design ideas within PowerPoint, so you'll notice some of these slides have a different background theme. That's just randomly selecting things from PowerPoint to mix it up a little so it's not quite such a boring environment. So really, really cool tools. There are so many different ways you can collaborate using Office 365. Okay, so one thing that I really want to enforce here is train your team early and often. So for example, spend half as much on training as you do on the solution. That sounds like a big budget for training, but the solution is of no use at all if people don't use it. So you have to get them on board. What's in it for me? How is it going to make my life easier? How's it going to help the business? So you need to make sure that people understand what they're supposed to be doing really well. That just eliminates all of the resistance and gives you much better return on the investment of the solution itself. There's a tool called Brainstorm, which is trickle training. Basically, it's a tool that's universally available across the globe. Every time a feature changes or a menu setting moves within Office 365, which is very frequent, Brainstorm is updated. So you might be sitting there in 6 months' time going, I can't remember now how to allocate permissions to a document library in SharePoint. You can look that up in Brainstorm, and there'll be a video to walk you through the process, which is very cool. Now, there are some Microsoft learning paths available. So if I click on this link here, it's going to bring up a window that shows some learning paths that are available from Microsoft. So we'll start here, for example, Microsoft training. I can click on there and I can say, okay, what kind of training do I want? So the options are modern workplace, or I can go for working remotely. In the theme of today's presentation, we'll click on working remotely. So there's end user training here. So I can click through here. There's a little guide that will take me through the various modules. There are some videos on here that'll help people make the most of their Office 365 environment. What I will do is just skip to this one, communicate or meet, and I'll just show you this little video. I'm not sure if you can hear the sound. Do you know if you can hear the sound, Vicky? Can you let me know? Let me just show you here at this part of the video. This just shows you, if you can hear the sound, I'm talking over the top of it. Sorry, I'm not sure if you can hear the sound, but this shows you just there, basically, that you can dial numbers, any number, through Teams and talk to anybody. So they don't have to be using Teams for you to make a phone call. You can type the number in. You do need to do a bit of connecting in the back end, but Teams allows you to use the client on your PC or your mobile to be making those calls from anywhere. And this shows you how to do it. So these tools are available. Now you may see from the top here, this is in 365 Solutions Group AU, SharePoint.com. So if you want this in your own tenant, you can go to lookbook.microsoft.com, and that is going to give you the ability to download that to your own tenant so that it's available for everybody. You can send them a link to it and say, right, get on board, click here to add to your tenant, and that will allow you to put this training in there so that people always have a place to go if they're not sure of. So Brainstorm's a third-party tool that is way more comprehensive, but this is a really good starting point for user training. Okay, so in the interest of time, we've only got 10 minutes left. The Microsoft Learning Paths, and if you want to download them in your tenant, I'll put these links up in the chat window at the end of the presentation during the question session. But yeah, some brilliant tools. And oh, look, little laptop going for a jump there. There's some very cool things you can actually do within Office 365 and within PowerPoint to make presentations a bit more interesting. So yes, bit of gratuitous showing off, but all you've got to do is go to drop in 3D models of all sorts of options, and you can bring your presentations much more to life, just as a little side note. Okay, now here's a question for you. What if you could connect every system you use into a single pane of glass for your work? So you had one place to log in and everything was available, and you automate all of your processes to reduce manual tasks, prevent re-entry of data, and mitigate human error so that it all just works. Well, funnily enough, I've got the answer to that question. So I'll just give you a quick skip through of a case study for Volunteer Marine Rescue Brisbane. They're based up in Sandgate. They're one of the 23 squadrons around Queensland. They monitor the bay and the Brisbane River and rescue people when they get in trouble on the water. And we've completed a total digital transformation process for them over 3 years, where we've done little incremental pieces of work. So very quick, high level of what can be achieved with Office 365 outside the Microsoft stack. So previously, they would have members go to their website, complete a form, which would then be copied and entered via a VPN into access by someone internally. Then they go and set that person up in MyOb so they could invoice them. Then they would set them up in the security system so they don't get access through the boom gate to the boat ramp. then they would set them up in MailChimp to keep them in touch with newsletters and what was going on in the squadron. Then when they're out in the bay rescuing someone, they would have to VPN in through to Access to check what their membership status was to see if they should get charged for it. Then they'd have to remember to check whether people had an insurance certificate for their boat, because otherwise they wouldn't be allowed on premises. And then they'd have to update that information via the VPN into Access. It was a very labor-intensive process. Just the way they'd always done things, disparate systems that didn't talk to each other. And then we were engaged to help them fix up their system. So this is what's happened over time. First of all, we've replaced Access with SharePoint, which immediately means no VPN, multi-factor authentication, far simpler, much more secure and easier to actually access from a boat when you're bouncing around on the waves trying to rescue someone. Little side note, the VPN, which is supposed to be secure in everyone's minds, the Access was hacked through that, which is why we were originally engaged to help them restore their data and went, don't get Access back, put it into SharePoint, and this has begun the whole journey for them. Then we've integrated the website form directly to SharePoint, so there's no need for that to then come to a user to enter the same information. Then we've also set up a workflow to manage the insurance certificates for if they want to get onto premises. So it checks if they have one, registers them in the system, and then it notifies them when it's about to expire. So it's taken out all that human intervention to manage the insurance process. Then it sets them up with access to the boom gate. It also denies them access if, for example, their membership expires and they don't renew. We've also then got SharePoint creating cards for each new member in MyOb, and then when MyOb payments are made through the online portal, that updates SharePoint with the expiry date and then generates the welcome or thank you letter or renewal letter that goes out automatically. And then we add them to MailChimp. So this whole process is vastly simplified and makes a massive difference to their operations. How much of a business does it make, a difference does it make to their business operations, you ask? Well, funnily enough, I have the answer for that too. Over 3 hours per member per year through manual entry, creation of letters, bank reconciliations, updating security access, MailChimp subscriptions, etc. What does that mean? Well, across 1,000 members, that's 3,000 hours annually, which just happens to be 1.5 full-time equivalent positions. And that's also for less than $50,000 in total spend. So if they were paying for people rather than a voluntary organisation, their ROI would be a matter of months. But even though they're volunteers, they've also recovered $25,000 a year of revenue that was being missed through manual processes and human error. And that's now being recovered through the new process. So really important changes to their whole business. So I've only got 5 minutes left, so I'm going to skip through the rest here, but hopefully you can see the power of Office 365 and the Microsoft stack to really improve your effectiveness, your efficiency, and to drive business outcomes that are lower costs, more effective processes, yeah, a better customer experience because it's more predictable and you've got systems. So we've had some video testimonials that some of our customers have been kind enough to give us. You can see those on our website or on our YouTube channel. We've had some lovely things about us by various people. We've completed transformation projects for them. I don't have time to go through all of those, so I'm just going to skip through now to the top 10 ways in which Microsoft 365 can help your business. So the first thing is access documents and data anywhere, anytime from any internet connected device. Back to the original message, cloud first, mobile first. Truly remote means you can work from any device. I can go to an internet cafe. I can log into portal.office.com. I have access to everything I need to work from there just as effectively as I do from the office, from my normal device. So it's really important to start getting rid of servers and firewalls and VPNs, get everything into the cloud. It's as secure as you can get. Microsoft spend billions of dollars every year on security. I don't think anyone on this call is matching that spend. So you can pretty much guess that there's going to be a more secure option. Protect your business against online threats. So obviously with cybersecurity, there's a real uplift now with bad actors out there trying to take of the remote working and panic around COVID-19, messages going backwards and forwards about, you know, you've been in contact with someone, quick click here to check who that was. So it's more important than ever to protect your data, and Office 365 has absolutely got that covered. Green and smart IT, reduce your paperwork, save the trees, also have all the stuff that you're using in a data center, so you're not having to pay for UPSs, cooling, power, etc. in your own environment. Work smart with automated daily workflows, speed things up, just as you've seen we've done for a volunteer marine rescue. Version control problems are solved through SharePoint and OneDrive. Really makes a difference when people know they're accessing the right information at the right time. The average person saves a minimum of 2 hours a week. Sometimes it's 2 hours per day just by having access to information at their fingertips rather than having to go looking for it. So huge ROI on that alone. It's a single integrated platform. The fewer logins and passwords you have, the fewer points of entry you have from a cybersecurity perspective, so the less vulnerable you are. You can also use Office 365 for single sign-on, so that when people log into that, they get access to MyOb or Xero or LinkedIn or whatever other tools you give them for their job to do on your behalf. When someone leaves, you have one place to go to manage their subscription, close them out, and it's done. So again, really powerful stuff. Communicate seamlessly with Teams. We're doing that now, so it doesn't need any more explanation. Pay-as-you-go subscription, so particularly important in times like these where people are being stood down or let go. If you've got 100 staff this month, you pay for 100 licenses. If you have 50 next month, you pay for 50 licenses. So very flexible. Make sure you're only paying for the stuff you use. You can go up and down between licenses as you need every month. Frequent updates from Microsoft, so you always have the latest version. And then Power BI gives you some very powerful insights into your business, how it's operating, where the holes are, and what you can do about it. So very quickly, working online, working offline. I can be offline and working without an internet connection. As soon as I'm back into an internet connection, everything syncs to the cloud, and I will get the latest versions that other people have been syncing while I've been offline down to my device as well. So it really does enable you to work properly remotely. And there are so many ways in which this can be an advantage to your business. I could talk again, as I said, for hours on this topic alone. I'm so passionate about it, total nerd, but it really is very transformational for your business. So next steps. If you don't already have Microsoft Teams, get a 6-month free trial now. It's available only through partners. So you can go to our website and click on the Teams trial page. Again, the link will be in the notes. That will let you take advantage of the free trial. Run Microsoft Secure Score in your tenant now to see where the vulnerabilities are. Switch off old authentication methods. Stop email forwarding so that people, if they do get in, can read all of your emails and figure out how to impersonate you to try and rip money off from you, etc. So start using Microsoft Teams for secure online meetings. Recently, Queensland government moved away from Zoom because of Zoom bombing and some other vulnerabilities. Now Teams because it's much more secure. Start using it for voice calls. It costs less to do that than it does to have someone as a phone extension. That needs to be maintained. It needs to be upgraded. Do it once with Teams and it's forever the current. And you can download a lot of resources to help you do things like run Teams meetings effectively, to switch on multi-factor authentication. How do you do that? Go to our website to the /resources and you will find a whole bunch of stuff that will help you. Sorry, just going to click through. Email us at sales@365sg.com.au if you want to follow up on any particular topic, and I'll gladly help you. We'll get back to you within 24 hours. And you can also use Microsoft Bookings, which is an equivalent to Calendly. It means that you can see my calendar, figure out when I'm available, make a time, book with me. You don't need any email exchange. You can just go to our website to do it. Or you can use this tinyurl.com /365sg bookings, which again will be in the notes. So bottom line is stay safe, stay healthy, and where you can, stay home. This thing isn't over by a long shot yet, so the more we isolate and reduce our social interactions, the safer we will be. Now, very quickly, B1, G1, being a business for good. What we do is we embed giving into our whole processes. So when we meet with a new customer, we send a little thank you and we donate it, probably going to be something like 100 days of clean water to people in need of drinking water around the world. When we close a project off, we plant trees, fruiting trees, so that families can feed themselves, and it also combats climate change. We've got a whole bunch of different things that we do that are embedded in our business. We make donations as every part of every project, but also every interaction. It doesn't cost us a lot of money to do, but it makes a huge difference to the lives of those people that we interact with. So I believe that being a business for good is really important. When you do business with us, it's good for us because we make money. It's good for you because you transform your business, and it's good for the planet because we do things to make a difference around the world. So that's my little pitch over. If you want to talk to me more about B1G1, I would love to talk to you about it. I think it's hugely important. Okay, sorry for talking at 1,000 miles an hour, but so much to cover, so little time. Do we have any questions?
I can't see on my screen that we have any questions. Do we have any, Serena? That was so comprehensive, Tristram. If I was there, I would be handing you a bottle of water right now because you must need it. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. There's so many useful ideas and things to try, useful links, and we're certainly very grateful for your time today. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
We'll be making sure that we share this webinar. If you have colleagues that weren't able to attend, you can see it again on our website, and we'll be putting it up on our Facebook group as well. So thanks again, Tristram, for your time today. We do appreciate it very much.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk at you all. I'm afraid it ended up being a bit that way. But yeah, if you want to know anything more about how you can help yourselves with the tools you already have, there's no need to engage us in most cases. I just want to make sure you're making the most of the tools you already have. Go to our website, download the resources. I'll make sure that those links are included in the email that goes out with the recording. Please do reach out if we can help in any way. We can guide you, point you in the right direction, give you some assistance, and if you need us to help you, we're certainly ready to do so.
Thanks again, Tristram. Thanks for being so generous, and thanks for all our attendees online. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody. Bye now.
Bye.